Hey everyone, Big Dave here, and want to talk a little bit about health and my health journey and what I've been on. And honestly, the whole thing's been just a learning curve. Pat. I mean, a learning curve. I didn't know what health was. I really didn't know where to begin or what to think of it. I had so many thoughts that treated health differently than what I should have treated it as. And I really didn't understand. Excuse me. I really didn't understand how what my brain and my perceptions of everything I was doing, how it impacted me. And I just lived a certain way. I worked on all kinds of things within my life and emotional intelligence, managing better, which relates to emotional intelligence, leading organizations, all these things professionally. Personally, learned how to deal with things that I had in my life, but never food. And about 3 years ago, I started on a journey of, all right, I'm going to figure this thing out. And one of the big things I did was I took up boxing, and there's a thing called fight camp. Within fight camp, man, was that a difference maker for me. It was something that really helped me through all the things that we're doing. It helped me through because I liked it. It was a way to work out that I really, really enjoyed it. And it was something that I can't explain other than it motivated me because I could move, I was active. Let me go back a little bit before fight camp and go through 30 years of life, you know. Probably I was a great athlete. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. I did well as an athlete. Played through college in basketball. Big dude. Um, I was very fundamentally worked hard so I could eat whatever I wanted to. And then I would say that we didn't realize how and what health was as we grew up. Uh, we just would enjoy ourselves and eat. And then I got on to the field of sales as soon as I was done with college. And then I got an expense report, and voila, I was really good at drinking beer and eating steaks, entertaining and closing deals. And boom, immediately it was 300 pounds before you knew it. And that lifestyle just stuck with me. And I was really successful at what I was doing. And didn't really think about it because I was still strong enough to do all the things that I wanted to do, especially in my 30s. I was plenty strong. And as I continued to go forward, what happened was I aged. And as I aged, all those bad habits really caught up with me. And I think it was 3 or 4 years ago when I found out I was diabetic. And it all just hit me because I was always pre-diabetic. I was doing things um, that were right on that verge, right? I was always in that pre-diabetic category. I shouldn't say always, but probably from like 38 on or 35 on or something like that. And, just be teetering that edge. And I would gain weight fast, got big fast. Uh, and my love of food just grew and grew and grew. I love food. I mean, more than what I think most people do. I think that I'm probably a foodaholic of some sort, if that's even a word. I really enjoyed the taste of all the sweets and everything that are on there. And I mean, I became addicted to food over my years and didn't realize I was addicted to it. So even though on this one side, I was able to really improve myself within business, socially, and overcoming being afraid and timid and bashful and all these things of becoming maybe a little bit too forceful and too much in one way, and then understanding emotional intelligence and becoming more aware of interactions with people. And then this other side, addiction, food grew. And then over here, I was 100% trying to improve myself. But over here, food addiction keeps going, probably getting worse. And as all of that happened, I'm trying to think to myself, all right, how do I do this? How do I lose weight? How do I fix this? Not really realizing that it's going to lead me to diabetes. Probably just didn't pay attention or care, even though I knew that was there. I think it was I didn't care. So as I go through all this, life became a lot more difficult for me because what ended up happening, and I'll go forward and go backward, was I got so big, 425 pounds, and then I was diabetic. My A1C was 8. I couldn't do the things I loved. Like, getting down with my nieces and nephews at the time, getting up was a bear. Moving around was a bear. I was still active enough that I'd do squats and I'd do all those things that would work out. But then all of a sudden I felt my muscles just weakening, and like I'm starting to not be able to do the things that I like. I love to fish, be out on the ocean. And I couldn't do these things the way I could or wanted to anymore. And I just blamed age, but in the end, it wasn't. It was like what diabetes was doing to me. And you really got to go backwards and go, all right, why in the world did I let this happen? Well, you don't. You don't go that far back because you can't change that crap. But what you can do is figure out where you are now and why you have to change. But when you get to that point, and maybe some of you can relate, when you get to that point that all of a sudden now things are too difficult, or now you do a workout, and maybe it's only a 10-minute workout, and for 5 days you can't move. I mean, that's not right if you treat yourself at all right, and which I wasn't. And then on top of that, what is health? And especially now, if you look all over the place and you go on social media, what is health? I only can tell you one of the things I read and what I know. I don't know from a doctor's standpoint, but I can tell you that it is so confusing out there. I mean, here you have a food pyramid. It's now just turned upside down. Which is right? Which is wrong? How's it supposed to work? All this stuff was like making it easier for me to go, I'm just going to stay right where I'm at. I'm just going to, you know what? If they don't even know what they're doing, I'm not going to make a change. Again, excuses, just giving myself excuses every single flipping time, giving myself excuses. And I would always then tell myself that as I'm trying to work on it, or I would die, say that I go on a diet, I'd lose like 80 pounds or 50 pounds. And I would die because, I was always since 30 something, 35, I've been in that 330 to 380 range. And in my mid 30s, I was very strong. That's the time that I'm taking up washers and dryers and picking them up by myself and moving them around. Who cares, right? Here's this 6'4" guy, 350 pounds full of muscle, benching more than he's ever benched before. But in my body, things weren't exactly the way you think they would go, or wouldn't be the way you would think they would end up going. So what I did was started to really realize that I had issues with a food addiction, and I had to treat it like a food addiction. And the food addiction that I had, really just stopped me. There was a sugar addiction, 100%. And it stopped me from doing anything I really needed to do. So where did this end up? What did I do? I'll just get to the point and go a little backwards again, is I decided there's no way that I can continue this path 3 years ago. And I started on the path of trying to attack my mental part of this, because the mental was the biggest piece of it all. The mental piece is what really just starts getting you either going or stopping you. So I was like, all right, I got to get into this. I got to, push through all those adversities, push through everything that I have to push through. And I went on a keto. But as I always would go on when I do a keto, I was like, all right, great. And I would cheat every now and again. And I would lose weight, sure, but I didn't get the results I wanted. But I knew that if I put myself in this position, in my mind, I can get myself out of this position. So what I did is I said to myself, right now, I'm going to figure out how to no longer be diabetic, and I'm going to go there. And I worked my tail end off. And what happened is after a year, still diabetic. You believe that crap? Still diabetic. After a year. And it just ticked me off. I mean, I like legit telling my doctor, I'm going to go have pizza and a beer. You want to go with me? And I was so frustrated. I lost like 50, 60 pounds. I should be happy with it, but no, I wasn't happy at all. And as I went through that whole process, but it is a piece of me, of what I've been through. And it's been so long of me going through all this that I can tell you every feeling, every little ounce of things, everything I've been through. And what transpired through all of that, food addiction is like a really, 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 really big deal. and I don't think it gets the attention it needs to get. And I am a food addict, to the point to where I don't even know um, how I would have addressed it, because every time I would go off of it, I'd be like, life's not worth living if I can't have this type of food. And I'd be like, huh? Now that I look back at that, I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? That's what I would say. I would say life isn't, or I'd, crazy enough, the best you'd feel within a day is when you ate. That's sad, but it's real. I mean, the best, when I'm in the middle of being the highest A1C, which was 8, I had, the best I felt when I ate. And that is so sad, but it's real. I mean, it's a real deal, dude. Um, and you go through all this, and then you're like, man, I don't want to give that up, because if I can't eat the stuff I love, why am I going to do it? And the whole time you're telling yourself all these lies. And what I want to be able to tell you all is that I've been there. And if you are sitting there with diabetes and you did it to yourself like I did, and it's a type 2 thing and you ate yourself into it in some way, you can get yourself out of that. Really believe it, because I did. And I'm going through the frustrations of what I went through. And anyone says, hey, just do this by this simple plan. It was 3 years of me figuring it out. And I can't say that any other way. 3 years of me trying to figure this stuff out, man. I went on a plan of trying to eat keto, and my A1C did drop, but it dropped from like an 8 to like a 7 something. And that was in a year. And I was so frustrated because I worked my butt off. I really did. I mean, I was so angry and so mad that I couldn't accomplish it. And I went through this in the second year I went in, and again, I'm boxing, right? Because I took up the fight camp boxing thing and I like it, love it. There's a guy named Coach PJ on there. Awesome dude. The rest of them, they're pretty good. But that guy, when I was first starting, if it wasn't for him, I would have just went away, because the other guys would just tick me off, because they were too gung-ho with, position I was in. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is how you get rid of diabetes. And it's this. It was rough for the first 2 weeks. Rough. Let me explain it. I ate eggs, steak, butter, and then some like beef. That's it. Now, I did have like sausage with some cheese on an omelet in the mornings. So when I say that's it, it's not totally it. So I lived on that type of diet. And the first 2 weeks, I was ornery as can be. The first week was hell. I mean, I was hungry all the time. I couldn't get full, but I would eat. And then all of a sudden, it went away. 2 weeks in. Now, that first 2 weeks was bad. I was like mad at everything. Everybody, I was mad all the time. But after eating just beef, butter, eggs, and beef, butter, eggs with some cheese and sausage in the morning on my omelet. And I just did that. My A1C dropped to 5.5, no longer diabetic. And I did that through just diet. And it's 3. It's nice. But 3. How does that make sense? It's 3 months straight. No cheating. You can't cheat one day. No alcohol. I love cigars, no cigars. And I did that just by discipline and discipline alone. So when you look at how I do things through discipline, I've never been that disciplined with food. I've been that disciplined with other things, but never with food. And as we went through all that discipline, I was like on edge. Like I gave the blood. It was back in December. I think it was December 7th, 8th, something like that. And I gave my blood. And in that blood, when I gave it, I went right online to check it. Like they could do it within 2 hours. They never do. It's always overnight. And for some odd reason, I pulled up my old blood work and I was like, just ticked, because my old blood work showed my old stuff. Like, how in the world did I not change at all? Then I realized this is my old blood work, but I was that worked up because I'm like, I so want this to happen and so want this to be real. And I was like, and then the next day, the blood work shows up, 5.5 A1C, boom, baby. No longer diabetic. and no longer on any medications other than I do still take blood pressure medications, but none for anything with blood sugar. Um, Me looking at what health is now and me looking at how I do things with health now is all about eating few carbs and controlling my carb intake. And let's say that's the secret overall, because the secret overall is for me carbs, because carbs is what would trigger me, and sugar being definitely that biggest trigger. Now, there's certain foods that would make it worse for me. Like bread was rough, but like having a cookie, it wasn't too bad. But then if I would have any sort of candy when I would cheat, man, that craving, I could just feel it come in. I could just feel it come in. And the whole time I could feel everything come in. And it was just a rush. Like when I would cheat, the rush would come in. I'd find myself, it'd be like, I don't know, 2 weeks, let's say a week easiest, or 2 weeks probably more realistic, that once I would cheat for me to get that like addiction out of my head. And now I'm to the point where I don't want it. I don't want it at all. Um, what I want now is I want to have a lower carb lifestyle. That doesn't mean no carbs, but a lower carb lifestyle. Now I am going to go and reduce carbs again because I want 40 more pounds off. So it'd be 145 pounds. Because I like to live life around 300 pounds. I know that sounds crazy. I live in life at 300 pounds, but for me, I've been walking around at 4.25 for a long time. I've been walking around at 4.25 for a while, man. And now I am 320, and I want to get down to 280. So I want to get rid of 40 more and get there. But if you're sitting there and you're like me and you have diabetes and you ate yourself into diabetes by your diet, you can get rid of it. It is not easy. There are a bunch of things I want to like talk you through when you do it. And this is zero carb, and you can't really cheat. And you really need just beef, butter, and eggs. And then maybe like I had cheese and sausage in the morning and bacon as a snack sometimes. For 3 months, absolutely no cheating, no alcohol, none of that. And that's finally after 3 years, that was that 3 months that I no longer became diabetic is when I did that. And there is some real crap that goes on with your body during that. Like the cramping is a real thing. If you're not putting salt in your water, if you're not taking electrolytes, that cramping is a real thing and it sucks. So what I want you guys to make sure that when you're going through this and doing it is make sure that you're following the right people. Like I started all this with Gary Brecka, and then I also followed Ken Berry after that. I got to get some water. I'm just talking and talking. And Ken Berry after that. And I was so ridiculous in my eating problems that I would 100% eat myself till I felt bad. And it was not good, but I feel great while I'm doing it. And then what would happen is I feel terrible afterwards. And then I go through that whole mental thing where you're like, crap, why did I do this whole thing to myself? And it would just make yourself delay for you taking action. And action is the number one thing. And if you take action and you follow that carnivore and you just go and look up Ken Berry, because he's probably the one who explains it the best, Dr. Ken Berry. And he is going to help you through and teach you all that. But again, salt in the water is a real thing. And those cramps, man, those are a real thing. And you really want to make sure you're taking electrolytes and putting salt in your water and doing those things. And because in other words, you're going to get those cramps, and it sucks when you do. I continue to work out hard with me being a boxer. I love to box. I'm not a boxer. Like I'm going to fight someone. I don't ever want to hit anyone. But I love to hit a bag, and it's so much fun, especially since a bag doesn't hit back. So again, if you're sitting around there diabetic, the first thing I'm going to say is take action. And I was telling my doctor, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get on that. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And that's where I joined with guys like Gary Brecka. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure you all, when you get motivated to do this, is to really take that action to start and get through that first week. And thank you for telling me my performance is bad, because I'm winging this. I appreciate that. Oh, metformin is bad. Yeah, it is bad, but I was on it. I didn't know any better. Um, I had no clue. I didn't know all that stuff was bad. But yes, I agree. It is bad. Um, and it's something you don't want to be on when you read about it. But, when your doctors give that to you and you don't realize this is what you're doing, it's what you take. And yeah, I agree with that 100% because there's things like berberine you can take now, all of that stuff that is out there that is available. And there's a whole system way you can do it. It's all out there. It's all on the internet. The key is action and then to get through that first week, if not 2 weeks. Because I'm telling you, in that first 2 weeks that I was on that zero carb, true carnivore, beef, butter, eggs with some, I would have sausage and cheese on my omelets in the morning. And I would have some bacon as snacks. And you're on that first 2 weeks are hell. And I ain't kidding when I say hell. Like I was so ornery. What happens with me with food is I'm never a fighting person, but I get angry and I want to fight someone. And, here's a guy that's 425 pounds, 6'4", used to be 6'5", but my neck shrunk. And I'm just ticked. That's not a good place to be. And it is hard, but action, do it. And if you do it after those first 2 weeks, it's amazing. You only want to eat twice a day. That's it. You don't want to eat any more than that, which for me is impossible because I want to eat all the time. So I was able to get through it. And after that, for 3 months, I basically ate breakfast and I would eat around 2 or 3 o'clock and I'd be done because I was not hungry anymore. And it's really a weird feeling to be for a foodaholic to now not have all those things happening. So getting rid of diabetes for me was a 3-year journey. It wasn't easy. Mentally was the worst part. But going through that 3 months after the first 2 weeks, it wasn't hard, right? That part wasn't hard. Well, the part that was hard was mentally getting ready for it and getting through the 2 weeks. That's it, right? And I know maybe that sounds easy. It's not. The mental part's for real, man. It took me, over 2 years to finally get to a point where I'm just going to do this and that's all I'm going to eat. And I'm going to push through whatever's going to happen and stick through it. And I did. So, and that's how I no longer am diabetic. My A1C is 5.5. My, let's see, my sugar, what was it? Glucose was 95. And this was like December 8th or something. Cause this just happened. This isn't something I was talking about that happened years ago. This just happened. I just no longer became diabetic. And for real, like cold turkey. Yeah, that does suck. But for me, if I let anything else in, I was in trouble. And other people can be more disciplined. So you be you. I always say that in all my trainings. I do a lot of personal training on emotional intelligence and things like that. Again, like in the beginning when I was talking about all this, I do a ton of self-development training and tons, work with all kinds of people, VP, CEO, private, everything, all about self-development. Yet here I am sitting there having this food addiction on this side, but working so hard on this side, but this food addiction on this side that I couldn't control. That led me into health issues. So the first part is if you're sitting out there, and my goal on this is just one thing, is if I can just reach one person to say, take action and do what I did, and they can feel as good as I feel now, I can go through the day without being so tired. I eat and I'm not like exhausted. Now, say I want to go out and have a few beers, I still let myself do that. I'm not going to, I'm not one of those guys that's just going to say no, never, but I'll use 80-20 in life. And rather than 80% being bad, I'm going to be 80% good. And that 20% is going to be maybe like 10. So maybe it'd be 90-10 for me now going forward. So when you guys are out looking at this and saying, all right, if you're suffering from diabetes, how do you get rid of it? The answer is you can get rid of it through your own action. And it's 3 months of your life and that's it. And if you look at it that simply, maybe then your mind can go, I'm open to it. Let's try this. And again, I would go look at guys like Dr. Ken Berry. I started with Gary Brecka. He goes on to a keto. Ken Berry is more carnivore. What is the diet? Ken Berry, Kenberry. You can look him up on any internet. You'll find him. And he does the carnivore, all the carnivore stuff. He's the one that I really started listening to and following because of how he would talk through things. Now he stays carnivore and I don't want to stay carnivore. So I just wanted to make that really clear. I don't want to stay carnivore just simply because I want to be able to have some other foods every now and again and introduce things back. Like I do. Oh, Eric Berg's awesome. And I want to eat berries. Like I love raspberries and blackberries, and I eat those every morning. I want to do, but while you're in this phase of no longer being diabetic, you can't have any of that. There's zero cheating. It is basically what you can have: some coffee, water, and beef, butter, eggs. And like I was saying, I would have some cheese and some sausage and things like that along the way when I was doing it. But not anything that would be consistently off of beef, butter, eggs. And then you can get into all kinds of debates on the butter, the eggs, the type of eggs, like ridiculously, and it gets boring as hell. But if you're trying to improve yourself, it's only boring for 3 months. And then after that, you can reintroduce things that you do like, and find alternatives. Like I'm making peppermint patties. You'll laugh because I love like the New York peppermint patties. I'm making peppermint patties now that I don't know if they're healthy, but there's no sugar in them. And it's pretty much made with coconut oil with some other things. And the taste is phenomenal. When most people say it tastes phenomenal, you go and eat it and it tastes like chalk. You're like, there ain't no way I'm eating this stuff again. But these are awesome, man. And, so like, I want to be able to do things like that to enjoy myself as I am now more on this maintenance path of being able to no longer be diabetic for the rest of my life. I was on keto and I lost, I want to get this right. I don't remember the exact number, but let's just use this as an example. I lost 80 pounds on keto. I went on carnivore for 3 months and I lost 25 pounds. That's it. That's it. Now I should have lost way more than that, but my goal wasn't to lose weight on carnivore. Now, and here is my goal was to no longer be diabetic is why I did carnivore. And here is, I believe the reason is I don't think I was eating enough, because my calorie intake wasn't enough. And I think that's the reason why people don't lose weight on carnivore is you don't eat enough. Calories is still a real thing. And if I have to go back to some sort of carnivore to get off the last 40, I'm going to really be paying attention to the calories and making sure that I am at a calorie level that makes sense, even though most of the guys say, hey, don't worry, just eat whatever you want. Well, I think there's truth to that, but there's also a lot more truth to calorie in, calorie out. So I relate to the frustration, but my goal at that point was not weight loss. My goal at this point was no longer be diabetic and change it. And it did. Yeah, I would say overall, help me. I appreciate that. I don't want to sell all your roofs, but I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so as I go through all that stuff and I go through all that, I'm going to say pain because it is pain as you go through it. And again, like it was 3 years at all pain and mental pain. I mean, more than anything. So like when you look at blanket of carnivore or keto or whatever, I don't think there's one answer that's for weight loss and one answer for everything else. I do believe there's an answer right now for you. There's an answer, that if you accept the carnivore challenge of beef, butter, eggs, and you're diabetic, give it 3 months and do not cheat and stick with beef, butter, eggs, and maybe a little sauces and cheese, and work out. Cause I did, I continued to work out. I think you're going to find out something. At least I hope you're going to find out that you are no longer diabetic like it happened to me. I'm only assuming that. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person who did it. So overall, I'm, just want someone motivated to do it. And if you could tell me that it worked for you too, it'd make me feel even better, because everything that I'm doing and with my TikTok channel, my YouTube channel, and all of that is based on just how do I help people improve your lives and do better. And that's all I want. I mean, there's nothing you can click on to buy something from me. There's nothing like that. Anywhere on the YouTube channel, there's nothing to click on to buy something from me. It is only to help and give back and say, this is what's happened. Maybe one day it turns into something different. I have no idea, but that is not my goal. My goal is if I can just impact and help people. And right now that topic is 100% is how, if you're diabetic and you did it to yourself by food like I did, I know there's answers out there for you. And I know there's ways to do it. It worked for me. All right. I think I ran out of stuff to talk about. I'm not a doctor, but I believe based on what I've done, you have a choice that if you don't want to be diabetic and you put yourself into diabetes, you can get yourself out. All right. I appreciate everyone very much. See y'all. Bye.